Do not panic.
Let's go Bears.
Do not panic,
That's
Steve.
what they're saying here.
People are waking up. They're wondering, should they be at work this morning because they hear your voice? No, it is Sunday.
I think we just woke up a lot of people in the neighborhood of Washington University, where we are live, where tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have the second and what could be the definitive presidential debate between Hillary and Donald Trump.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As I know, Tucker Carlson's to your immediate left, because I heard he was blow drying his hair a little bit earlier.
Right here.
Used up all the electricity. And what else? One of the great things about these debates, we get to highlight three colleges, soon and before, that don't normally get a lot of publicity. Isn't it great to go on campuses that are just excited for not only the debate tonight, but to see you in person, Steve?
Well, you know, thank you very much. I've met a lot of nice folks. Tucker Carlson last night went out with his staff from the Daily Caller, and tell us about what happened in the neighborhood as you arrived at the venue a little early.
I did. A neighborhood, an old-fashioned Italian neighborhood here called The Hill. And I was walking down the street, and there were some Fox and Friends fans there.
They were having a party on the porch.
Swept into their porch party. Yeah, the nicest people ever, and sincere Fox viewers.
Wait, you went up on their porch and partied with them?
Yeah.
Yes, how great is that?
In a pretty sanitized way.
And did you do a one-man focus group where you said, what do you think about the Donald Trump thing, and what did they say?
I did, and I heard what I've heard from everybody in the last 24 hours, which is this is appalling, it's embarrassing to see this, obviously, but compared to what? And by the way, does the press and does the political class have moral standing to criticize Trump in the way that they have been? I mean, the criticism, look, frankly, some of it is well-deserved, and a lot of it's come from me, but some of it is disproportionate. I mean, you could literally invade a country, botch it, screw it up for all time, and not get the kind of criticism
Tucker,
Trump has received for saying something naughty. I mean, it's like insane.
This is what they've been waiting for. You know they were going to sandbag him anyway, and this is just a month out. Boom! This is made for TV.
I know, but look, I've been a journalist for 25 years this month. And I can promise you, nobody in the press corps has moral standing to talk the way they are talking now.
Right.
It's just too
what
much.
do you think about the fact that a lot of the Republicans, they say, are jumping ship, and a lot of them we kind of knew. Senator Ayotte was on the fence. Now she's over the fence. Senator McCain, Senator John Thune. You can go down the roster. But a lot of people say the reason why this is making them jump and the other problems and controversies didn't is because Republicans are scared they're going to lose women forever, where they never really had the majority of the Hispanic vote. They never had the majority of the African-American vote, but they've always had women, and now this could be fatal, they feel, with these comments.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. There are three things going on that nobody is saying. One, you know, there are sincere policy differences between Trump and the Republican establishment. That's legitimate as far as I'm concerned. They've disliked him for this for a long time. Two, they're just flat out embarrassed of the guy. I mean, truly. And three, they don't like him, and they've wanted to do that. They feel he's a threat to them, and they've wanted to distance themselves for a long time. So they're acting on a political calculation, which again is legitimate. But to frame it as this moral contest between light and darkness, the good people, the bad people, the moral, the immoral, is really off-putting to normal voters, because they're like, look, that's not really what it's about. We may have different interests here, but don't tell me I'm a bad person. That is not a good strategy for the Republican establishment, I think.
Speaking of the normal people, they were out on the street every day in front of Trump Tower. They just stand there thinking, is this the day he's going to come out? He came out yesterday to a hero's welcome, and he made it very clear, I'm not going anywhere.
What you're seeing here, this really is the beginning of the breach. This is the beginning of two Republican parties. Now, maybe post-Trump, post-election, someone can put this all back together, but maybe not. I mean, it may
Humpty Trumpty?
It's Humpty Trumpty. That is true. I mean, it's possible that these two groups of people, the American middle class searching for political leadership and the Republican establishment, which has done pretty well doing what it's been doing, just don't have enough in common to coexist in a single party. I mean, we'll find out. But this is the divide.
Tucker, some of her emails have been released, and in those emails, she was sending out how she is in support of open borders, yet she says something different when she is on the campaign trail.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, that's devastating. They're two different Hillarys.
They're two different. I mean, and the saddest thing for me in watching all of this is the reaction from Bernie Sanders, who turns out not to be a revolutionary at all, but an obedient little party guy who basically put up with anything.
Brian says he doesn't know how he can sleep.
It's true. It really is true, because she basically confirmed his nightmare. Here she is speaking to a Brazilian bank, but it might have been Goldman Sachs. It might have been any one of these groups that he exists to oppose. And she's basically saying everything you feared is true. You know,
here's the exact quote.
Basically, I'm on the side of the globalists against American labor.
My dream is hemispheric common market with open trade and open borders. Are you kidding me? Open borders in a time we're concerned about security, and we're debating about immigration at what level. You have the only reason that Donald Trump has any popularity is because of the wall. And now you're saying someone not only doesn't want a wall, they want to take down whatever fence we built.
So Democrats are saying that every Republican office seeker ought to have to answer the question, are you with Trump? Do you stand by Trump on his comments? Okay, fine. I think every person seeking office as a Democrat ought to answer the question, are you for open borders? Hillary Clinton says she is. No one's disputing the veracity of these words. What would America look like in a year if we had open borders? The country would be utterly transformed for the worse. It would destroy America in 12 months, period. So this is an insane suggestion, and she ought to be held accountable for it, in my opinion.
Sure. And, you know, Brian was mentioning a moment ago the number, I think I saw in the New York Times this morning, 36 Republicans have unendorsed him. Many of them never supported him anyway.
For sure.
The Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, had an event in Wisconsin. Trump was invited initially, then he was disinvited. Mike Pence was going to go, then didn't go, said it's going to be too weird. When Paul Ryan got up there, he was actually booed by the party faithful. Watch this. Anyway, you got to trust me. Boo.
Just imagine the booing. Imagine the booing.
We have 3.5 hours to find that tape, so we'll do it.
Yeah.
But I was trying to...
Plus, we saw at the beginning as well, where there were a number of women who were in attendance, and the correspondent went up to these women in particular and said, were you horrified by what Donald Trump said? And they said, yeah, we are, but we're also horrified by the fact that our Republican Party leadership have abandoned the party standard bearer.
Yeah, because not everybody sees the world through the lens of the upper-income, guilty white liberal television news producer. And yet that is how the news is presented, is through that lens. But, you know, people have different perspectives. I mean,
you know what? I
don't think anyone would defend the comments, but not everyone's as horrified as your average CBS news producer.
Tucker, you know what I did like? I did like that Mike Pence came out and he said, my family is praying for him. His wife did come out and say that she forgives him.
Melania.
Yeah.
And Ivanka's...
Well, here's all you need to know in one sentence. Evangelical leaders seem less horrified by this than your average TV news correspondent, which kind of tells you a lot.
Well,
Jerry Falwell Jr.,
because the TV
Tony
news correspondents
Perkins
are
is still
such
on
better
board.
people. They're just morally better.
We're gonna have Governor Huckabee, who also was a pastor.
People.
We're gonna have him on the show to talk about it.
There's
from that
two things that would have killed Donald Trump. Mike Pence dropping out, and if the RNC does indeed withdraw support. And neither one of those things happened, although we're trying to get to the bottom of the fact that they might be redirecting funds to the Senate and House races and away from him. We're trying to get answers on that. There are reports in the Wall Street Journal today that is happening. That would be devastating.
All right. Tucker, thank you very much. You're going to come back
to see. Oh, kidding. I'll be looming around.
Some people have a porch light on across the street. Go talk to them, would you?
Like a moth, I'm drawn to it.
All right.
Thank you, Tucker.
Casey, what's coming up?
All right, Hurricane Matthew on the move up the East Coast, leaving destruction in its path, and the threat, it's not over, guys. We have live team coverage coming up next, Steve.
And it's been more than 2 years since riots spread across Ferguson, Missouri. What are things like between police and community now? Pete Hegseth just sat down with the police chief, and what he found out when he joins us live will be revealed only on Fox and Friends. He's agreed to give us the story.
Good morning to you. It's 45 minutes after the hour. A couple quick headlines to bring you right now. A 5-year-old boy is in critical condition this morning after a boat that was carrying 30 people capsized in San Francisco Bay. 27 adults and 3 children were on board a 34-foot vessel that sank. Some people were even trapped under the hull. The Coast Guard responding, quickly getting everyone out of the water, then miraculously reviving that 5-year-old boy. 5 adults and 2 other children were taken to area hospitals. No word on what kind of boat that was exactly just yet or what caused it to collapse. More bad news this morning for Samsung. Another replacement Galaxy Note 7 catching fire and melting right in the hands of a teenage girl. It is the 3rd replacement phone to start smoking following a worldwide recall. 2 other Galaxy Note 7s started burning on a packed Southwest Airlines flight and also at a man's home. Samsung says it's investigating. And those are your headlines. I'll see you back here shortly. Ainsley and Brian, just had a break.
Hey, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. All right, we are back with the Fox News Alert. Hurricane Matthew is no more. The storm just downgraded now to a post-tropical cyclone as it continues marching up the East Coast, leaving a deadly trail of destruction all across the southeast.
Post-tropical cyclone. Countless cities underwater this morning. Torrential rain dumping as much as 17 inches and storm surges up to 9 feet, triggering record-breaking flooding. But is that in the past?
Many people caught in the storm's destructive path now assessing all the damage. At least 10 people killed here in the United States.
All right, let's go to Chief Meteorologist Rick Reismuth. He's not the senior, he's the chief, which means regardless, he's been up for days covering the longest storm ever.
That's exactly. I never should ask for that title.
Yes.
That made all the difference. Guys, this was an incredible storm. Almost 18 inches of rain in Savannah, up to 16 inches in North Carolina, flooding extensive. And, you know, a lot of times these storms happen and people say, hey, it doesn't seem like it was bad, as you said it was going to be. What ends up happening is it takes a day or two for the places that have been cut off, kind of because of bridges and roads that have been wiped out, to get in and get the information. So the images now coming out are quite extreme. And I think today we're going to see a lot more of that. The good part is it's almost done. Most of the rain pulled offshore. Still a little band up here around Norfolk in towards Virginia Beach, but that is pretty much gone. The wind's not gone. We still have the winds are in the 40 to 50 range, but throughout the day today, as the storm does pull away from shore, that is all going to begin to subside. Became a post-tropical storm. It just kind of changes its meteorological structure, but we still have the winds at 75 miles an hour, most of that offshore, but we still have a little bit more rain to go. And the flooding, guys, it's going to take a long time for that water to get out of here.
Wow. I mean, yet even though it's still this, people feel like it could have been so much worse, and that's the big thing.
Yeah, but when it happens to you and you're flooded, it's just devastating.
Right. I think most people did listen because we did warn them, and so did the governors. I think they did a great job.
You know what? Brian's been through it. You went through it with Sandy.
Right.
So
got to get out. There's no question. Meanwhile, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour, we have so much to talk about. In fact, still ahead. It's been more than 2 years since riots spread across Ferguson, Missouri. What are the things like now between police and the community? Pete Hegseth just sat down with the police chief, and he's driving to our stage in St. Louis.
Is he playing golf this morning?
He's playing golf, basketball, hanging out with cheerleaders, and a bear.
One of the topics that's sure to be a major focus at tonight's debate here at Washington University is the relationship between the police and the African-American community. It was 2 years ago that Michael Brown was killed by police officers, sparking outrage in Ferguson, Missouri, just a couple of miles from where we're sitting right now. That deep divide still exists in many cities today. We sent Pete Hegseth into St. Louis to show how people view the police here.
That's right. No, we were out yesterday, talked to the police chief. There's definitely still a divide in this city and across the country. My first stop was to the St. Louis Police headquarters, where I caught up with the police chief, Samuel Dobson, to find out how his officers are dealing with the rise in tensions. After that, we hit the street. Take a look. How are your relations, this department's relations, with the Black Lives Matter movement?
So over the last 2 years, really after Ferguson, we've made a conscious effort to really invest in improving that dialogue. I think Ferguson made the law enforcement profession around the country realize how big the rift was in some communities, and especially communities of color.
There are people that say, hey, why are we really putting the fault then on the officer, that somehow they have this bias they're not aware of, and overcompensating as a result?
You know, I'm a big believer that training and education help solve a lot of our problems. So there are things when you were growing up that you were programmed with that you may not even know that are there. And for our African American officers, we just don't take white officers through implicit bias. We take the whole department through implicit bias.
A couple of years ago, Michael Brown, famously, you know, the phrase that came out of it was "hands up, don't shoot." But then an investigation revealed that that never happened. Do you feel like there's a frustration in your force from police officers that the narrative upon which this whole thing has developed is not a fact-based narrative?
Oh, it is. But I don't want to get stuck on that. What I want to get focused on is that the conversation is happening now. We had an officer-involved shooting here in St. Louis a week ago Sunday. I walked into a neighborhood and met with people in the neighborhood and said, this is what I know right now. Here are the facts. I think that helps. So we've learned as a profession, the more information we can share, the more quickly it fills a void that's there. So this is one of our cameras. These are the cameras that we put out into our community. And I'm a big proponent of having eyes in a neighborhood or on a business district. But I want people to know that they're there. Mm-hmm. Not only do I want to see what's going on, I want it to be a deterrent. So the cameras like this let the bad guys know that we're there and let the community know that we have a presence there. This is an example of a march that occurred in the city where we had cameras in the area, and so we were able to monitor it. It does a couple of things. One, it gives us multiple angles and perspective. It helps keep officers out of view, out of sight, to help keep tensions low, and then we're staged and ready to respond if we need to.
This moment right now, what does it represent?
So as I said, I have about 4 years in the job as chief. I'll talk to chiefs that have 7, 8, 10 years. They have never seen a more difficult time to be a police officer than right now. And it's a combination of Ferguson, Charlotte, Minneapolis, Chicago. It's a combination.
We had a chance to talk to the chief at police headquarters. Now we're hitting the streets of St. Louis to get a sense of how people feel about police relations.
I know that Ferguson is trying to implement new practices and trying to give their officers some diversity training, but it's very tense. It's still strained.
Most definitely got worse.
And why is that?
Not just in Ferguson, everywhere over St. Louis it got worse. Because, you know, every cop, it seems like every cop the same. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even though they say different words, they still feel like they're the same.
Is it Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, or All Lives Matter?
All lives matters. All lives.
I don't believe in Black Lives Matter at all.
I think that there shouldn't be an organization or a group that says that lives matter. We're all human beings. We're all in this world living, trying to make a little piece of happiness while we're here.
You know, the St. Louis Police Department is clearly trying to engage. They even have purchased an ice cream truck that they're going into difficult neighborhoods to give away.
Idea.
Yeah, they are, but there's still a great deal of tension, no doubt.
Sure, absolutely. All right, Pete, thank you. Good job. All right, straight ahead, live from St. Louis, Donald Trump vowing to stay in the presidential race despite his hot mic scandal. What does he need to say to tonight's debate, and how will Hillary Clinton react? John Roberts and Mike Emanuel on how both candidates prepared all yesterday. Come on, guys, you're next on Fox and Friends, live from WashU.
Well, good morning to you and your family. It is Sunday. It's October 9th, 2016. I'm Ainsley Earhart. Donald Trump making it clear he's not going anywhere. And listen to that. His supporters making it crystal clear they stand behind him. But what about the rest of the party? And what about you? How's it all going to shape up? Well, we're going to be watching the debate tonight, Brian.
I promise I will.
Plus, while Donald Trump gets hammered over that 11-year-old audio, remember the time Hillary Clinton said she was denied from the military because she was a woman? Turns out, according to the WikiLeaks leaks, she lied. And this morning, we've got the proof.
So she didn't really want to join the Marines? I cannot wait for the show to start. And if you think the first debate wasn't entertaining enough, roll the tape.
This.
Ooh-ha! Ooh-ha!
Well, yeah, I can do this.
Ooh-ha!
Everybody sing.
It's now getting the bad lip reading treatment because we just don't have enough to do. There's no content to talk about in the show. Let me just remind you, it's Sunday. Stay in your pajamas. You can sleep in. It's raining everywhere. And your mornings are better with friends.
And we are up early, live from Washington University in the heart of St. Louis, Missouri. This is Fox and Friends with the Washington University Bears cheerleaders and a bunch of students as well. And look who's coming to the set. We've got Mike Emanuel, who's been covering the Hillary Clinton campaign. Mike, take your position. And we've got John Roberts, who last slept in April of 2014, joining us live. Welcome, folks.
Thanks for having us.
Good to have you.
Actually went to bed early yesterday, but then there was a fire alarm in the hotel. So
Oh,
I got to look it up.
Brian, a moment ago you said it's raining everywhere. Actually, it's going to be a beautiful day out here in Missouri. Perfect weather.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Come on out. Sorry about that. Yeah, come one, come all. But it's a beautiful day here.
Hey, I just think it's great that Mike Emanuel and John Roberts entered the stage like a 1978 reliever in baseball. That's exactly how, when you come to the bullpen, they used to come out with the golf carts.
I don't have the arm I used to have, though, Brian. It's just, it's not there anymore.
But these are both starting pitchers. All right, John, let's start with you. Tell us what happened yesterday in Trump world.
Oh, How long do you have?
Well, we've got 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, we all saw the tape. We all heard the tape and the vulgar language. And then the strategy from the Trump campaign is twofold. First of all, it's to get all the people who are closest to him to push back against the remarks, to say, we know they were horrible, but we forgive him. We don't believe that this is the man that he is today. These comments don't represent the man that he is today. It's time to move on to other things. And one of the things that they want to move on to tonight, Steve, in the debate is the latest revelations about Hillary Clinton and these leaked emails regarding the speeches. And they've got 10 points that they've been putting out there. A lot of these are points that Donald Trump is going to make tonight at the debate.
But that's what Trump camp wants to do.
Yeah.
What about the reality of will it work?
Well, that's a question, because as Mike will tell you in just a minute, Hillary Clinton has been practicing very hard as to how to respond to this, and they're not saying anything about it in Clinton camp until tonight. But more on that from Mike. But Donald Trump is pushing back against really a flood of people calling for him to get out.
From his party.
I mean, even people in the leadership, like Senator John Thune, who said he needs to go, Condoleezza Rice, who said he needs to go. But Donald Trump is defiant, saying, I'm not going anywhere. And they'll do some final debate prep today before coming out here to St. Louis, and he'll try to make those points as to why he's going to stay in the race.
Okay, Hillary Clinton's staying in the race as well.
Absolutely.
The big question is, how hard will she hit him tonight, if at all?
Her team's kept that a mystery, Steve. They feel like tonight's going to be a huge audience. They want to save it for the big audience. So she put out a very subtle tweet after the revelations came out.
Well, she said it was horrific.
Yeah.
That's not so subtle.
Well, yeah. But then they're saving the big reaction for tonight. On the big stage, they feel like the audience is going to be massive, and so they want it to be a made-for-TV moment. And so she's going to give a reaction. We know that she's been rehearsing for this debate. She spent almost 8 hours at a hotel nearby her Chappaqua house yesterday, practicing for the big debate, and they feel like the timing of this breaking was bad for Trump, but good for them, because with everybody tuning in tonight, that they feel like it'll be a great opportunity for her to react on the big stage.
And as John just mentioned, you know, this whole Trump disaster with the Billy Bush tape has taken this WikiLeaks dump off her front page, but she's going to be asked about that tonight because it's hugely embarrassing and damaging.
No question about it. And obviously it's a different format. It's a town hall format, so questions from two moderators, also people in the audience. So it'll be interesting to see if some of them ask about some of the revelations in the WikiLeaks, such as, you know, do you have to have two different positions, a public position or a private position when you're talking about things like Wall Street, open borders, open trade, some things that you know, Bernie Sanders was very against trade and fought against that, wanted to see her Wall Street speeches. They come out in this WikiLeaks. Her team is not saying that, you know, they're not confirming the authenticity of the emails, but they're also not rejecting them. So
those darn Russians, that's all they're saying.
The Trump campaign really wanted to have it all about policy tonight. That's what they've been focusing on in these town hall practice sessions. Chris Christie, who, of course, was a master of the town hall during the primary campaign, has been heavily involved in debate preparation. But now, with what happened over the last 48 hours, keeping it on policy is going to be difficult.
It's really going to be something. The cheerleaders have moved on to something else. So while they were here for you coming on the stage, you're on your own.
I'm glad I went with the red tie. Fit right in.
It never lasts long with us. It's like flash in the pan and we're good.
Just like that.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Ainsley and Brian?
All right. Well, Steve, the question is tonight, how is he going to handle this? Many people want to know, what's he going to say? And I think if he comes out there and he apologizes right out of the gate, he says, that was 11 years ago. I regret it. It's despicable. I do not want to objectify women like that. I'm raising a daughter. I have a wife. I'm raising several daughters, in fact. If he said that, it might change the course. And if he focused more on policy and what Hillary Clinton's done, you've got Benghazi, 4 people dead, her lying about the emails.
Well, that's true. But the question is, too, do you say if they go at him, Martha Raddatz, Anderson Cooper, Hillary Clinton, and the people in the audience all go at him, does he turn around and say, by the way, let's just get this straight. We're talking about the wife of a guy that cheated on her multiple spouses.
And then she vilified a lot of those women who accused him of abusing them.
Ed Rollins, today's New York Post says that would be the wrong strategy. Don't bring up Bill Clinton. Don't be above it. Don't even get into that. Don't be defensive. And what you should do in the next 24 hours, you should be doing now, is calling up to this leadership and even groveling to say, hang in there. I apologize. I will not embarrass you.
Steve, whether or not he can come back from this, I don't know. But if he goes out there and he says, we've all regretted something that we said. This was 11 years ago. I didn't know I was running for president. I'm going to change my life now.
Ainsley, if it's more than one thing,
I agree,
that's the comeback. Well, yesterday in front of Trump Tower, it was pretty clear he got some support, Steve. This is not unusual. Take a look. So, I mean, with over 30 lawmakers coming out saying he should drop out or they're not going to support him anymore, he says he will not budge. The RNC is going to have a hard time kicking him out if, in fact, they do want to kick him out, unless there's an illness or unless he decides to drop out. He knew, for one thing, he says he's got a lot of calls of support, and he got a lot of support outside a place, New York City, that will not go, he will not sway the vote in New York City, but his supporters did show up outside his building.
Well, they did. There are throngs of them. I mean, you've been over at Fifth Avenue at Trump Tower. I know John Roberts pretty much has his car parked in front of the building, where every day people are there. Is he coming out? Is he coming out? And they came out yesterday to that hero's welcome. You know, when I flew to St. Louis yesterday, Peggy Noonan, the Wall Street Journal columnist, was on the flight with me, and we were talking a little bit. And she said, really, come on. Does this surprise you, what he has done or what she has done? Because so many people, look, so many people have said they are flawed candidates, but we know their personal history. Yesterday, out in Wisconsin, Paul Ryan had an event. Donald Trump was initially invited to it, but then he was disinvited. Then Mike Pence, not going to come either. But there were a lot of people there who were in attendance to see Donald Trump, and they still squarely stand behind him, even though he made these comments 11 years ago. Here are some of the women who still support Trump and are steamed at the Republican establishment.
They're just trying to gain from it. I feel they're just, you know, we should be all together. We're all for the same thing, you know, stopping ISIS, closing our borders, getting rid of our debt.
I can understand what they're doing because it is, you know, was pretty awful. But that was 11 years ago, and I think they should go behind Trump and stand behind him.
It's bad for the party. It doesn't show us as a united Republican Party, and they should really be standing behind Trump right now.
We also have Tom Ricketts and Sheldon Adelson, his two biggest supporters, saying we are not going to budge. Among the people sticking around, Bob Dole. Bob Dole said, wait a second, that was 11 years ago. If he has a good debate tonight, he could change everything around. But he's trailing by about 2 points. He was in the game on Friday's Fox Bowl in all the battleground states. This will not help. So you need something to turn it around tonight. And the question is, why isn't Mike Pence in the meetings to strategize for a debate after his brilliant debate on Tuesday?
Well, Mike Pence is saying he's praying for Donald Trump. He doesn't agree with him, but he said it was 11 years ago. He's praying for him and grateful that he expressed remorse. This is the headline on the Post this morning, Steve. It says, I will never drop out. I don't believe he will.
Well, yeah, just keep in mind, Donald Trump is not a quitter, and that's one of the things that they like about him. He's a tough guy. He is not a quitter. And for the people who say, well, this is, you know, he's toast, he's going to be running and he's going to be campaigning right until the end. The big question is how soon after the first question, if it's not on this particular point, will Donald Trump weave his answer, a real apology, into things and then say, you know, I've addressed it. It was 11 years old. I feel terrible about it. Now let's talk about policy, because this ultimately is a choice election. You know what I stand for. You know what she stands for. Now let's talk about the differences.
Right. Just can you do it if the RNC pulls support? Can you do it without 36 lawmakers? Are the people going to rise up and say, I've had it with the party politics, and I'm just going to stick with my guy, or that's it, I'm over the cliff? Especially when Ben Carson said, I'm going to stay with Donald Trump. I just got off the phone with him, and he told me there's going to be more of these type tapes to come, which would be flat out devastating.
Yeah, but he's the candidate. He is the nominee. The RNC has to stand behind him right up to the end.
Steve, it's going to redirect funds right to House and Senate
even
races.
Worse than they are right now.
The people voted, and that was their candidate. The RNC has to live with it.
Right.
Right.
Looks like
if they take the money and they go to House and Senate races, that'll be what they would do. We'll find out.
So many people won't go out to vote because they were on board for Donald Trump, and they might actually take it out on the people who didn't stand squarely with him.
Strong argument. I'm not going to argue. I'm just saying there's so many sides to this. Thanks, Steve. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead.
That's why it's going to be a big show tonight.
Right. And
lots of people watching.
So is our show. We still have 2.5 hours left. That's it. I know. I forgot what it. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, watch this soundbite.
We have 3 hours.
Oh, sorry.
You've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it.
Now I know what it's about. Bill Clinton saying Obamacare's terrible. That's what Stuart Varney says, only he's got an English accent. He's here coming soon. Is he going to walk? Will you please walk? Stuart, please walk.
Plus, both candidates dealing with scandals on this debate day.
All right, Obamacare seems to be heading towards a complete meltdown, and one of its main critics is former President Bill Clinton.
You've got this crazy system where all of a sudden 25 million more people have health care, and then the people are out there busting it sometimes 60 hours a week, wind up with their premiums doubled and their coverage cut in half. It's the craziest thing in the world.
The Wall Street Journal noting that in 2017, insurance premiums in the U.S. will increase by 24.2%. So why isn't this getting more coverage? It's a huge story. Let's bring in Stuart Varney with Fox Business Network. Hey, Stuart.
I think the media is totally unwilling to accept that Obamacare is a failure, that it is collapsing. It is the signature achievement of President Obama, and the media does not want to say it is disintegrating. It is collapsing. And collapsing it is. You just quoted there an average of 2%. That's the average premium hike that consumers are going to see in November if they're on these exchanges. Look at some of the individual states. We've got a 68% bump up in Arizona. It's 43% up in Illinois. And in Minnesota, where the state commissioner said, yes, Obamacare is on the brink of collapse, his word, it's going to go up between 50 and 60%.
And look at these numbers.
Iowa, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, all of them way into the double digits, way up November 1st.
And I was so shocked that Ezekiel Emanuel is blaming Republicans and Marco Rubio for not allowing it to be fixed. What do you mean by fixed? In other words, they want to just reach into the Treasury and give all these big insurers money. And Rubio said, letter charges says, no, you can't do that. We're already $19 trillion in debt. This is your plan. Figure it out. So they're blaming him.
I did a very contentious interview with Zeke Emanuel last week on my program.
One of the architects.
He is the architect of this whole system, and his fix, his short-term fix is as follows: bigger taxpayer subsidies to consumers, a bailout for insurers, and bigger fines for individuals who do not have health care coverage. Can you believe that? That's punishing you and I.
Right.
That was the interview. That's punishing you and I for the failure of their system.
These are individuals that couldn't afford insurance before. Now this administration is forcing them to buy this insurance, and now premiums are going to go up on average 24% next year.
Correct.
How can they afford it? How can the individual afford it?
This is one of the primary reasons why the middle class has been squeezed. It is Obamacare that's doing it. It's the deductibles that's doing it. It's healthcare premiums
So
that's
am I
doing
right? The lower class gets it for free. The upper class can afford whatever they want. The middle class has to sit there and pay these huge premiums. And the middle class is who she says, Hillary Clinton says, she is fighting for while lauding the president. She's got to either run from the president or embrace this.
That's another reason why this whole story, which is huge in my opinion and affects millions and millions of people, that's why it's underreported. Because it's a huge negative for Hillary Clinton going into this election.
Trump's got to pick up on that.
They are all gung-ho for Hillary Clinton. Trump should pick up on it tonight. Whether he has time for it with what's going on elsewhere, I don't know.
Stuart, you wouldn't walk in. Would you walk out?
If you insist,
Let's go walk out.
I don't want you to leave. You can stay.
All
right,
I got a friend at Fox and Friends.
You are a friend.
Thank you.
Okay, both candidates dealing with scandals on the debate day today. Which one will have the bigger impact? Lisa Booth and Julie Rosinski are here to debate that live from St. Louis. One's a Republican and one's a Democrat. Stick around.
Julie's worried me driving.
Good morning and welcome back to Fox and Friends. 24 minutes after the hour, breaking overnight, a cop killer captured after a tense 12-hour standoff in Palm Springs, California. Police say that a known gang member, John Felix, opened fire on those officers who were responding to a domestic disturbance call through a closed door. One of those officers, seen screen left, Jose Vega, was a 35-year veteran of the force and a father of 8 children. The other officer who was killed, screen right, Officer Leslie Zarenby. She was a brand new mother to a 4-month-old baby girl. A third officer injured is now recovering. Felix now faces 2 counts of murder. Another Fox News alert to bring you. Hurricane Matthew no longer a hurricane. The storm downgraded to a post-tropical cyclone, that's what they call it, as it continues to wreak havoc along the eastern seaboard today. Several condos bursting into flames. Take a look at this. This happened overnight in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. High winds fueling those flames, which we're told may have been ignited from a nearby power line. Entire cities now completely underwater from that record-breaking flooding there. That storm claiming at least 10 lives in the United States. A look at the storm's latest track in just a few minutes. But let's head back to Steve Ducey, who's live for us in St. Louis. Hi, Steve.
Hi there, Heather. Thank you very much. Twin October surprises rocking the presidential race as Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump weather their own separate scandals. How is this going to dominate tonight's debate? Live from here at Wash U in St. Louis, we've got a couple of people to discuss it. Lisa Booth is the founder of High Noon Strategies and contributor at the Washington Examiner, and Julie Roginski is a Democratic strategist and Fox News contributor. All right. You're from High Noon. This really is high noon for Donald Trump, isn't it?
It is. I mean, he's very much in a difficult predicament. I mean, look, there's some selective outrage from the left, given the fact that Bill
They're
Clinton,
good at that.
Well, given the fact that President Bill Clinton is a top surrogate for the Clinton campaign, despite just being her husband, the fact is he's out there campaigning for her. He's going to have a big role in the White House if she was to win. And, you know, he's been accused of rape, of sexual assault, of things a lot more egregious. You know, you also have celebrities taking their clothes off in the names of Hillary Clinton, and they don't seem to care about that. So there is some selective outrage here. But Donald Trump is in a really tough predicament, and the problem for him is that these comments weren't made in isolation. There's been previous comments. There's going to be additional comments, I have to imagine, that are going to come forward. And if you have the RNC, if the reports are actually true of the fact that they are if they're diverting money away from Donald Trump into House races and Senate races, that puts him in a really tough spot because he does need that money for voter outreach, targeting, and to get them out to vote.
Absolutely, and it would be unprecedented for the party to abandon the standard bearer. Julie? Switch hats for just a second.
Yes.
You're a Democratic strategist. If you're a Republican strategist, what advice do you give to Donald Trump? Okay, you're going to get out there. She's going to be right there. You say what?
Get a hold of yourself first and foremost. Don't let her provoke you, because that's exactly what she did at the last debate.
Yeah.
And make sure that you say something that appeals to white college-educated women, who is a demographic that you need desperately and whom you're hemorrhaging even before
regarding
this
this?
Not about this.
Policy.
Policy. Refocus. But to bring in Bill Clinton's issues from 20, 30 years ago only accentuates what you're going through right now.
But do you think that's going to happen? I mean, there's a lot of it online. Right. And given the fact that last week when they met, he interrupted her a lot. If he interrupts her tonight a lot, would that be a bad thing or a good thing?
I think he needs to act like an adult, something I think he's constitutionally incapable of doing. But I think he needs to get a hold of himself. He needs to refocus on policy. He needs to speak to the voters on the Republican side also, whom he's hemorrhaging. It's not just Democrats who are outraged by this. It's John Thune, the #3 senator, ranking senator. It's John McCain. I can go on and on. He needs to refocus on those people and say, listen, from a policy perspective, you need me in the White House. You cannot afford to have Hillary Clinton, but he's not capable of doing that.
Well,
he's going to refocus.
It is something that is possible. The big question is, because he's only been a politician a year, can he pull it out? At the same time as he is weathering this storm with this tape from NBC, Hillary Clinton's got this very damaging, WikiLeaks has said, we've got 50,000 email, here's 2,000, she's a free trader, she's out of touch, blah, blah, blah. She looks terrible, but nary a word on the pages of many of America's big papers.
Well, and the mainstream media is not going to focus on that. So it's incumbent upon Donald Trump to bring that out tonight, to draw the contrast between Hillary Clinton and the middle class and his policies for the middle class. But the difficulty for Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton is you don't have Democrats that are turning their back on Hillary Clinton because of those transcripts, whereas you do have Republicans turning their back on Donald Trump. And the reason being is because right now he represents the Republican Party, and they're concerned about the long-term future of the party, winning or maintaining majorities in the House and Senate. And so that's where their focus lies right now. So it's a very complicated situation.
There will be 100 bazillion people watching tonight.
Get the popcorn.
It's going to be amazing. Yes, we'll all be watching.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. Thanks for coming back to college.
Thank you. Anytime.
Meanwhile, if you thought the first debate wasn't entertaining enough, take a look at this.
It says here that you plan to put an appliance into dead blind people.
Well, don't think about the appliance. Sometimes everyone has to believe.
That is a nonsense answer. It's nothing.
It makes sense if I say that it does.
Well, now the first debate is getting the bad lip sync reading treatment. We're going to show you some of that. Plus, what do college students want to hear in tonight's debate? 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats, all college students standing by live from Washington. Good morning, folks. You're next on Fox and Friends.
This is like the fifth and final penalty kick in a World Cup final. This is like Game 7 of a 7-game series, the bottom of the ninth with the bases loaded, if you're the stopper. There's so much on the line tonight for Donald Trump. Not so much for Hillary Clinton, but tonight will make or break his entire candidacy.
Brian, we have the countdown right there in the corner of the screen. Tonight is the second presidential debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Steve is obviously there on the campus live at Washington University.
Talking about college kids.
All right, thank you very much. Yep, a bunch of college kids, Brian and Ainsley. We've got 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats, and we're going to talk to all of them. Jimmy is with the college Democrats. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
How hard was it to get your 10 people up today?
You know, not very hard. Everyone is excited to be here this morning. It's a big day, and we're all looking forward to it.
What's the number one issue for you?
You know, look, I'm voting for Hillary Clinton because she has spent her whole life fighting to give everyday working Americans the same opportunities I've been so fortunate to have in my lifetime. Look at this amazing university. She wants to expand access so more people can come here and make it affordable for everyday Americans.
What about the free college thing? That good for you?
It's great for me. I think it's great for everyone.
I don't blame you. All right, Jimmy. Ruben is the head of the college Republicans. What is this about for you?
For us, we have a lot of niche political policy issues that we're worried about. But really, it comes down to the common denominator of the economy. We're all college students. We're all going to have to go to a strong job market afterwards. Yep. And we have a lot of anxiety about the cost of servicing the debt.
Absolutely. How bugged are you about those comments from 11 years ago or whenever?
A lot of us thought that they were incredibly inappropriate. We're usually prone to thinking people overreact, but I think he has a lot of explaining to do.
All right, he does. All right, Jimmy and Ruben, you stand right over here. Meanwhile, let's come on down here and talk to each and every one of these kids. What's your name?
I'm Jordan.
Okay, the first 10 are the Democrats. What's the big thing for you tonight?
Tonight, I think we need to focus on the fact that whoever is going to be our leader should respect all Americans. And I think we really need to see Donald Trump answer for the horrible things he has said, not just about women, but about pretty much every minority.
Okay, very good. That was a great answer. You've got to have shorter ones. All right. What's your number one thing for tonight?
Number one thing for tonight is I just want to hear a lot of policy.
Okay, you're going to get it. I got a feeling.
I want to see Hillary do what she does best in debate and have a great job.
All right, she had a good first debate.
Big issue for me is environmental policy.
All right.
I'm really concerned about gun control and national security.
All right.
I'm also concerned about national security and talking about domestic and foreign issues.
Very good.
I'm really concerned about the state of our health care.
Okay.
I was also going to say I'm concerned about our health care. I want to see an end to the hateful rhetoric that has plagued this election season.
There has been a lot of rhetoric indeed.
I like to see what they have to say about the job market.
Who are they? The candidates?
The candidates.
Okay, I think Donald Trump is going to make more jobs, according to what I've seen before. Now, are we starting with the Republicans? Yes. You're the first Republican. All right.
Yes, I am.
There could be a sea change in goals for tonight.
A good economic, strong plan for the future of America.
All right.
I want to see how both parties react to the debate and how they continue to shape to match the needs of the electorate.
How did you think Donald Trump did in the first one?
Poorly, if we're going to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see it better tonight.
All right.
I'd like to see tangible policy about how to support Israel.
All right, very good.
I would like to see Donald Trump drop out so he doesn't destroy the name of conservatism for future generations, because we're not going to improve as a country unless we have strong conservative policy, and he's ruining the name of conservatism for conservatives everywhere.
Do you want Donald Trump to drop out tonight?
I don't know, but I think my main thing is that I just want to see him...
Talk to this guy then.
I want to see them tackling the national debt and see how they're going to find a balanced budget.
All right.
If Donald Trump wants to see Hillary Clinton defeated as much as he says he wants to, he needs to drop out right now and yield his place to Mike Pence. He's a disgrace to the Republican Party and to conservatism.
Okay.
Taxes in the economy.
All right.
I want to see the federal government spend within its means and leave a deficit for the next generation that isn't
You're
too
funny.
large.
Like that's going to happen.
I can dream.
Okay.
I'd like to see a cut in government spending and a strong national defense policy.
Me too.
I want to see Hillary Clinton call Donald Trump out on all his wrongdoings, and I want Donald Trump to throw it right back at her.
All right.
I want to see discussion on how we can get a strong job market growing in the economy.
All right.
Regardless of who's elected president, I'd like to see a plan to reaffirm U.S. credibility overseas.
And our final student.
I'd like to see more reference to the Constitution from both candidates in the debate.
You're not the only one. All right, so Brian and Ainsley, very thoughtful answers from these kids who cannot believe they got up so early to be on TV today.
Well, Steve, great job.
On a Sunday morning.
20 interviews,
Yep.
and then I think you set a record. I think I'm going to get you some type of prize.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Politico and the Morning Consult did an instant poll after the tapes came out, and they asked GOPers, do you want Donald Trump to drop out? 45% said no, 39% said yes, he should. So for the majority, wants him to stay in.
We'll see. Well, hats off to all those students. Thank them so much from us, Brian.
Right.
Steve.
Even the ones that didn't wear hats, we're taking them off for you. Meanwhile,
What were you doing in college? Were you part of the college Republicans or college Democrats?
I was waiting for Steve Doocy to interview me, but he never showed. I'm so angry. And meanwhile, while Trump gets hammered over the last 11-year-old audio tape that emerged, remember the time Hillary Clinton said she was denied from the military because she was a woman? It turns out she lied. The proof courtesy of WikiLeaks, because they hacked. Next.
Plus, Governor Mike Huckabee is here. The one thing he says Trump should do tonight, even before the questioning begins. He's going to join us live next.
Don't give it away, Governor. It was a tease.
43 minutes after the hour, a few quick headlines to bring you right now. Do you remember the time that Hillary Clinton said that she was denied from joining the military because she's a woman? Well, it turns out that she lied. A transcript shared by WikiLeaks now revealing a speech from 2013 where she said in part, quote, well, I think you are too old for the Marines, but maybe the dogs will take you. I said, the dogs? And he goes, yeah, you know, the Army. More on that as we get it. And you may not have seen the first presidential debate quite like this. Watch.
Why don't you move to Africa? Yeah, move to Africa. I wish that you would, because I'll never move to that country. I don't like how you look. I don't like your name. I don't like you anything.
Well, that is nice, because I just hate you. And your fuzzy hair is silly. I rung a bell when the homies got hurt. I need no one. Nope. That's it.
All right, well, hope that gave you a good little laugh at home. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump getting the bad lip reading treatment, as we've just seen. And those are your headlines. I'll see you back here soon. Ainsley, Brian, what do you got?
All right, Heather, a number of Republicans are calling for Donald Trump to quit, but he says there's zero chance of that. We're at an impasse.
So what should Donald Trump's strategy be tonight to defeat Hillary Clinton? Here to weigh in on that is former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee. Good morning, Governor. What does he need to do right out of the gate?
I think the first thing he needs to do is get this off the table. The way he does that is issue a full-throated apology for the things that he said and did 11 years ago. But let's be very clear. What he said and did 11 years ago, it's deplorable. But, you know, unlike Hillary Clinton, who thinks people are deplorable, it's what we do that can be deplorable. It doesn't mean people are deplorable or irredeemable. And he needs to just say, look, I did a terrible thing. It was inexcusable, and it was. And then take that off the table. Don't blame anybody else. Don't bring anybody else's sins into it. And then get on with the debate, because the country is at stake. I care far less what he said 11 years ago than what Hillary was doing just a few months ago when she was selling out the security of this country, and when she was engaged in basically selling off the United States for donations to the Clinton Foundation.
Right. It's going to be buried. I'm not sure Martha Raddatz or Anderson Cooper are going to bring that up much. And you don't have control of the moderators, nor do you have control of the questions. But, Governor, if you are Donald Trump, do you go to, he's indicating he's going to go right to Bill Clinton's transgressions and her reactions to it. You lived it. You're from Arkansas. You replaced him when he moved on. Should he do that?
He shouldn't take the initiative, but if she draws first blood, then it's all out there. I don't know if she's going to be, to me, foolish enough to want to bring this up. I think she may, but I think it's a dangerous place for her to go, because she's then got to defend not what something happened 11, 12 years ago. She has to defend that while her husband occupied the highest office in the land, he was engaged in sexual activities with a subordinate, an intern, and then lied about it under oath, lost his law license, got impeached. These are serious offenses, and it wasn't just one woman. It's dozens of them, and she helped cover it up. I don't think she wants to go there. Look, this is a sordid affair. Let's just be clear. This is disgusting. It's sad to talk about it, but we also need to look forward and ask ourselves, who's going to lead this country? who's going to make Supreme Court appointments, employ people in the agencies, set a national policy for jobs. And if we elect Hillary Clinton, God help us, because we're going to continue to spiral downhill economically and militarily. We can't afford that right now.
Governor, the headline for the Post says, "I will never drop out." Do you think he should?
Absolutely not. Look, the people calling for it, some of these so-called Republican leaders, the ones calling for him to get out were the ones who never called for him to get in. One maxim of politics that I would share with you guys: you never listen and heed the advice of the people who don't like you anyway. I mean, that's rule one. So the people who are saying, as people have said to me before when I was a candidate, you need to get out, you need to drop out. Well, they never asked me to drop in. So when Donald Trump's millions of supporters, the hardcore that show up by the tens of thousands at rallies, when they tell him to get out, then he needs to listen.
If the RNC redirects funds, and I can't get confirmation if the Wall Street Journal is right that they are agreeing to redirect funds to Senate and House races, is it over for Donald Trump? Should they do that?
Well, if they do, it's over for the RNC. That would be a very stupid, foolish strategy on the part of the RNC. Look, I want to see us win the House and Senate, but we need all three, the White House, the House, and the Senate, to really move the ball forward. And it would be, to me, catastrophic. And the consequences for future contributions or any participation, guys like me, if you start playing that game and going to the level of your highest critic, I think the RNC would be jumping into a pool of acid to do that.
All right, Governor, we'll be watching tonight. Thank you for joining us. What happened?
Good to talk to you guys.
A few people have been closer to the Trump campaign than Governor Huckabee. Appreciate him getting up today.
So what happened when we sent Deuce on the loose inside the Anheuser-Busch plant in St. Louis? Meet the man who makes sure every bottle sold has the perfect Bud taste. Can you imagine being the taste tester for beer?
Nice hops, nice barley.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause. There they are, the Wash University Pep Band. Take a bow. Very nice. All right.
That was beautiful, Steve.
All right, live from Washington University.
All of you standing, hands over your heart. You had Pete Hegseth, who served our military 2 tours. He was saluting. Thank you so much.
And, of course, Senator Scott Brown's still a colonel in the reserves, so he is also there. Steve, a great scene in the back. I love when these universities don't normally get the spotlight. We got Hofstra, and have you guys over there, Washington University over in St. Louis. I do have some things to say. It's pretty clear all the Trump surrogates have been pulled except for Rudy Giuliani today. They're going to be speaking through one voice. You know, we were supposed to have one of them on. I also got confirmation that the RNC has made it official. They are not pulling money away from Donald Trump.
You know what's happening, Steve?
They're staying with Donald Trump.
You know what's happening. They're getting their ducks in a row. They're trying to get their thoughts together to make him look presidential tonight. Hillary's not speaking. She hasn't said anything about those comments. Trump, he's not speaking this morning, so we'll be watching tonight, because whatever they say, it's going to be a very important debate.
Sure, they're speaking with one voice. They're on message. It's all about tonight. Of course, what happened yesterday? A lot happened yesterday. That's why we're joined by John Roberts and Mike Emanuel live here at Washington University. John, let's start with you.
Let me ask you this question. Is there ever a day that goes by in the Trump campaign when not a lot happens? I mean, we just sit back. It's like being inside a tornado, inside a hurricane, with a thunderstorm raging all around it.
Initially, that's how he got noticed, and that's how he was able to
tell you, it's the most interesting thing. I've covered every campaign since '96, and it's the most interesting thing that I have ever seen.
Bring us up to date on what happened yesterday.
So what happened yesterday, the fallout, day 2 of the scandal surrounding the release of that tape and the hot mic incident, saw a lot of Republicans say, that's it, we're done. Condoleezza Rice sent out a message saying, enough, exclamation point, it's time to replace Donald Trump. Kelly Ayotte, John McCain, a lot of other people. John Thune said that they could no longer support Donald Trump. A lot of other people, Mike Lee, and others called for him to drop out of the race.
And, John, a lot of these Republicans and party stalwarts didn't like him to start with.
No, of course. I mean, when you talk about people like Mike Lee, Mark Kirk, other people like that. They're people who never liked him in the first place. So they're kind of the usual suspects. Carly Fiorina, who never liked him, said it's time for him to go. But a lot of people still are staying with him. We were talking to Senator Jeff Sessions inside our workspace just a little while ago. He's still firmly on board with him. Rudy Giuliani as well. In fact, Rudy Giuliani spent yesterday with him in debate prep, came out of Trump Tower yesterday and happened to get caught on camera. But he knew that he was going to be caught on camera.
Not that kind.
Not that kind, no. Listen to what he said.
This is basically the insiders against the outsiders anyway. Donald Trump is the populist candidate. Most of the people that have turned on him are members of the establishment. So I would see this as, if you want change in Washington, you vote for Donald Trump. If you want to keep things the same, you vote for Hillary Clinton.
So here's what the Donald Trump campaign is going to be focused on today. They're not going to talk a lot about what's going on. They think they dealt with that yesterday. They have people come out, including Melania Trump, repudiate the remarks and say, we forgive him, it's time to move on. Now they're going to be going very hard against Hillary Clinton on this idea of what was in the speeches that she gave to those Wall Street banks, in particular this idea of a common market and open borders. They say, okay, Donald Trump's language was vulgar, but what Hillary Clinton is planning could destroy the country. That is going to be the message.
That's going to be the pivot.
Put out today. That's
when they bring one thing up.
We'll see if it works.
We'll see if it works. That's what it's all about. Hillary was up at that fancy hotel in Westchester yesterday in a ballroom practicing again, right?
Well, that's right. And her team's position's been like, let's just stay out of it. And while some Republicans may be backing away from Donald Trump, let's let that be the story. Let's, on the big stage tonight, basically, let's make the big reaction there with a huge audience watching, feeling like it's going to be one of the biggest events of this election cycle.
Is she really going to go after him?
That's what we've been led to believe, but they've also kept very much under wraps what exactly she's going to say. Obviously, we expect questions about the WikiLeaks dump, basically, the emails from her campaign chairman, John Podesta, suggesting perhaps she has a different position in public from what she has in private. So how will she handle questions about that? Of course, all throughout the primaries, we saw Senator Bernie Sanders saying, I want to see what's in those Wall Street speeches. I don't believe what you're saying to the big banks. And there's evidence in this leak that basically she was saying, let Wall Street regulate itself, which would make the Bernie Sanders people go crazy.
What? I'm a free trader. Right. I'm a little out of touch.
And the Trump campaign has picked up on that, saying instead of D New York behind her name, she should have D Wall Street behind her name.
No kidding. All right, John and Mike. Excellent job.
Thanks. Always good to see you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Particularly when you've got the band.
No kidding. And by the way, Brian and Ainsley, earlier after I was talking about the Anheuser-Busch tour that I took yesterday, I said round of applause for the folks from Budweiser. And the cheerleaders did not applaud. That's because had they applauded, the horse probably would have stampeded. So I just had to explain that's why everybody just was, oh, should we really clap? Maybe not.
Well, people were clapping at home, Steve, and the horses didn't hear it.
There's no reason to not clap for beer
That's
ever.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. You handled that so cute. That was adorable when you put your hand over the camera, so we didn't see you drinking.
You can't drink on camera.
I know.
You haven't been called adorable in quite a long time, so this is certainly a day we have to remember.
We thought it was funny. Very creative.
All right, so let's talk about Donald Trump and what he had to do. No doubt about it, it was probably his most difficult day on the campaign trail so far, because not only did he have to handle things with his campaign, a push from Republicans to get out, he also has to deal with his own family. Because he was just married to Melania when this 11 years ago when this tape was made. They kept raw tapes. I had no idea they can do 11 years of raw tapes. That must be a big tape closet. And number two, there's stuff. Ivanka was also mixed up in this in some of the Howard Stern tapes. But the word is Melania firmly behind him, gave a positive tweet out. And so Ivanka is also the family standing strong. Question is, what did they get done in the debate prep? What are they planning for today? Rudy and Christie were on the inside. I wonder if they were able to put some type of strategy together.
Well, they're not talking now. They're not doing any of the Sunday shows. They're going to wait until tonight. Rudy's going to speak right before the debate.
No. Actually, Rudy's going to do the Sunday shows. He's going to do all of them. Going to speak with just one voice.
That's confirmed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's smart because they're trying to get their ducks in a row to figure out how to handle this, and they want one person to do the talking before the debate tonight.
Plus, Jeff Sessions, who John was talking about just a moment ago, he's going to be with us very shortly. He was actually at Trump Tower yesterday, and I asked him about, there was an MSNBC contributor said that behind closed doors, Senator Sessions suggested that Donald Trump drop out. And you know what? Jeff Sessions said, what? That did not happen. He said that was a flat-out lie.
We were asking Governor Mike Huckabee, who's very involved with the campaign, if he should drop out. And this is what he said, Steve.
The ones calling for him to get out were the ones who never called for him to get in. One maxim of politics that I would share with you guys: you never listen and heed the advice of the people who don't like you anyway. I mean, that's rule one. So the people who are saying, as people have said to me before when I was a candidate, you need to get out, you need to drop out. Well, they never asked me to drop in. So when Donald Trump's millions of supporters, the hardcore that show up by the tens of thousands at rallies, when they tell him to get out, then he needs to listen.
And so far, amongst the bigger names that say stay in, Bob Dole is firmly in his back. And you mentioned Senator Sessions. Most all the evangelical leaders that have been behind him stay behind him. You would think they'd be the most offended. Tony Perkins said, you know what, no one condones the comments, but he's staying there. You have Jerry Falwell Jr. is staying.
Mike Pence, who's an evangelical, his VP, he's staying in, and he's saying we are praying for his family. He said, I hope that people will have the opportunity to really know what's in his heart. He said, we're grateful that he has expressed remorse. A lot of people, Steve, are saying that he needs to come out tonight and just right out of the gate say, I am so sorry. That was 11 years ago. I am not that man anymore, and I promise to be more presidential going forward.
Unless more tapes come out, then he's got to make sure. Go ahead, Steve.
That is exactly what he's got to do. He's got to address it. It's the elephant in the room, as Paul Ryan referred to it yesterday. And then make it clear that he is really sorry for it, and, you know, he's moving on to policy issues. You know, nothing that he has said in the past, especially this 11 years ago, or Hillary Clinton's past as well, should surprise us. I mean, these are two unique candidates when you look at their popularity, how much you trust them, but it ultimately comes down to, I think Nigel Farage said yesterday, Donald Trump is not running for Pope. It comes down to who you want to lead the country and what are the issues important to you. Are they morality issues? Maybe they are. But are they about jobs, the economy, whatever they're about? There is a clear choice come November. And regardless of a number of Republicans who say, oh, he should get out, he's going to be the guy. People will decide between him and Hillary Clinton.
Excellent point. And you need to look at her record, too.
Gary Johnson.
Absolutely, Steve. You need to look at her record. A lot of people are saying, look at Benghazi. You know, people were begging her for help. 4 Americans are dead now at the Thanksgiving table that's quickly approaching. Those seats are empty for the rest of their lives. You have to think about that and how she handled it. She lied about the email scandal.
20% of the uranium stockpile that we have now belong to Russia. Right. Fantastic. All right, we're going to be back out to St. Louis, and we're going to be back in New York as we continue to count down the clock into the big debate tonight.
All right, both candidates battling October surprises ahead of tonight's big debate. But is this just the beginning? And what will this mean for tonight's debate? A fair and balanced debate coming up next.
Plus, look who is hanging out in St. Louis. That's Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions. A Donald Trump advisor, one of the first to hop on the bandwagon, and he's staying on. All right, both candidates battling October surprises ahead of tonight's big debate. Debate number 2. But is this just the beginning? And what will this mean for tonight's debate? Here to weigh in, Democratic strategist Crystal Ball, along with attorney and Trump supporter David Wall. Crystal, we know both have had some negative news come out. How much worse is Donald Trump's?
You can't even measure them on the same scale. I mean, Hillary Clinton's, the WikiLeaks issue is real. It's a problem for her. It confirms some of the things for folks that they've been concerned about with her. But it's a problem in the range of, like, normal political problems, like maybe Mitt Romney's 47% video. What Donald Trump's dealing with is something that is literally unprecedented in American history. And you can see that by the response. I mean, we've never seen a party just desert their nominee in the way that they have. There's even a question mark whether Mike Pence is going to remain on this ticket and whether the leadership of the party, Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, are ultimately going to completely step away from him. So this is like something we've never seen. And another thing that I throw out here is Every show that has archival footage of Donald Trump right now is going back through those tapes, and you have to think that there's more where this came from.
We'll have to see. It's just amazing that a syndicated show would keep 12 years of raw tapes ready in a vault, and the whole circumstances, how it ends up on the Washington Post and not at NBC is bizarre. David, nothing that Crystal said is outlandish. What is your take?
Well, I mean, the reality is it's a very dangerous tactic. If Hillary Clinton wants to go there this evening, Brian, excuse me, she will be talking about what, like you said, what happened 11 years ago regarding some crude comments that Mr. Trump made. No excuse for them. They were crude. But what about what her husband did with 5 or 6 different women? What about the assaults, the sexual harassment,
is that the parry you would make?
Of rape?
Because Ed Rollins in today's New York Post, who you know is a master strategist, said do not go there. Forget about Bill Clinton and transgressions.
Only if she goes there in defense, because what she tried to do was destroy the 5 women. What she tried to do was silence them, intimidate them. How do you possibly compare the two things? The WikiLeaks thing, though, which Crystal talked about, is so much more compelling. When you talk about having a private policy that you keep to yourself and another lie that you tell the public, when you talk about open borders, her dream of open borders, when you talk about trying to establish a no-fly zone in Syria, only with boots on the ground, which your campaign and Barack Obama's have completely rejected. The WikiLeaks stuff is so compelling, so substantive. That's where Mr. Trump has to go. He's going to weave these issues throughout the debate tonight to prove that not only is she a liar, but she is every bit the crooked Hillary that he has painted her to be.
Crystal, I want to add to this. We do have some news, just a little bit. Mike Pence, according to the camp, is solid. They said that he's been strong. He was at a fundraiser last night and said we're going to get through this. That was his quote, not that's not a conjecture. And number 2 is it seems as though the Republican Party was never really that much on board with Donald Trump outside the Senator Sessions and Governor Huckabee and Rudy Giuliani. But what you said is also correct. We've never seen so much desertion in the final weeks. But go ahead.
Look, his base, Trump's base, is with him. They're going to love if he goes after the Clintons, if he goes after Bill tonight. They're going to absolutely love that. But that's about 30% of the voting public. And, you know, you got to get beyond that, clearly. What I would say, which I'm not the first to say, Bill Clinton is not on the ballot. If you want to both make yourself look small and make your situation worse, Mr. Trump, and simultaneously make Hillary much more sort of sympathetic in the public's eyes, then that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Crystal,
but look, the issue is what Bill Clinton did. The issue is how Hillary reacted to it.
And where you are saying, if we're going to go back 11 years, you could go back 14 years, if that's what we're talking about.
That's what it boils down to, and if it has to come to that, it's what she did. She hired an investigator. She tried to destroy these women. She silenced them.
That's not true.
That's critical, and that's criminal.
No evidence of that.
We got ISIS setting off overwhelming evidence. Thanks, guys. We have ISIS setting off IEDs on 23rd and 27th Street. The Russians with nukes outside Lithuania, and we're talking about this. It's amazing. Straight ahead, Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, a Trump advisor. He's going to tell us what the inside story is this morning about rumors swirling around him telling Trump to drop out. I think he has something to say about that.